Alright guys, welcome to my newest video series slash project where I answer business related questions. Mainly, full disclosure, I get it from r/startups on Reddit. So I'm going to link that down below. So let's get started. So the first question is from a user, Mr. Story. And so let me read it to you. It says, "Hi all, I am a non-technical individual with an idea around a web application." And he goes ahead and explains what his web application does, which it allows people to basically capture learning and hone in on their skill development. And so he says, "In my journey so far, I've done the following. Number one, done some preliminary market research via survey tools on the idea. And number two, based on a fairly good amount of input from the above, I've now started wireframing the application in Figma and writing a full list of requirements and categorizing them to possible releases, MVP, version 1, etc. And he says, as next steps, I'd like to create a prototype that I can use with a user group to get further validation. I'm currently thinking of getting a bubble.io developer to create a prototype based on all the MVP functionality." And secondly, he says he'd like to find users that fit my target persona and invite them to use the product. So he lists two questions. The first one, what should my approach be to developing this prototype? Should I just continue using Figma, use Bubble to demonstrate a bit more, or actually develop in the target tech stack? By the way, I haven't determined what this will be. I've been told that the MERN or the mean stack. And number two, where is the best place for me to find users to test the prototype? So it seems like this person is fairly early on in the development of this product. He says he's done some wireframing, which is really good. And he has a decent, plan of action. He's already starting to list out the requirements and categorizing them into releases. But before I answer the questions, I want to say that if you haven't already started gaining user feedback and are already thinking about an MVP or a version 1 or version 2 of your product, I would say slow it down just a little bit, because you actually find out a lot more when you're interacting with your users or your customers, and those features that you spent so much time trying to list out might not be relevant anymore oftentimes. And so you want to go ahead and first talk to your users, gather a lot of input, and once you feel fairly confident that your users will like the product that you build, you should go ahead and build it and release like a very minimal MVP. And oftentimes you don't even need code, but it seems like for what this person is doing, you might want to create some kind of more than just something like on paper, something that users can interact with. It doesn't have to be very complicated. Maybe just a couple of features that are very important, that are critical to actually providing value to your users. So to answer his question, right, so what should my approach be to developing this prototype? I would say that once you've found your target market and your target users, you gather the list, go to your target users and set down some time with them. It can be friends or family, but I don't always recommend using friends and family as a good way to validate your product ideas, mainly because they have some bias attached to them. So if you can get someone outside of your friends and family who can help you, to just sit down with them over video and just go through the UI experience, the UX experience, and just to see if what you've created helps them solve the problem that you're trying to solve, which in this case is helping them continuously learn and hone their skills and capture learning notes, etc. So that would be my first step. And so if you've done that already, then go ahead. And he says he's non-technical, so either learn how to build the web application yourself, or hire someone or bring someone on into your co-founding team to help you build the application. And so one of the other reasons why you should take it slow in developing your first prototype is because you want to make sure that the time that you're spending actually coding this and building it out is going to be pretty significant. So you want to make sure that you're using your time wisely. I know personally I've spent many months developing something that was scrapped later on because we didn't do enough customer experience surveys. We didn't do enough learning about our customers or learning about the problem or seeing what was already out there. And sometimes you might create something that seems really awesome to a couple people, but you realize that the entire demographic of those people is just, your product might be too into the future for them or too advanced for them yet. So you might find that you might want to scrap some features or just not work on it at all. And some great places actually to continue to do prototypes. You can use Adobe's InVision. You can use Bubble.io, which is pretty good. Even like websites like Wix or something like that allow you to create something super minimal, and maybe you might have to do a lot of manual work on the back end. But if it solves a good user problem, then I think if your users are willing to have some delay, then I think those could be pretty good options. So the second question is, where is the best place for me to find users to test the prototype? So this really depends on your niche and what the problems that you're trying to solve. Now, the problem of continuous learning and honing down your skills, that could be a very big user base. So I would suggest narrowing it down to something really particular. Maybe just computer science or a certain topic like biology students, people in college or people who just graduated, people who are trying to change maybe like their industry, or maybe they're just trying to learn things on the side as like leisure activities, stuff like that. Maybe it's just history. So I think the product is a lot of the times guided by your first users, and I think especially at the stage that you are on right now, or this user is on right now, you want to have people in a very niche category, so that way you can hone it down in that category and then expand further as you get more feedback. And then eventually your users will just start telling you, hey, can you add this feature? Can you add this feature because I need it for this? I think this would be awesome. And so I think it would be a win-win for both of you down the line. So let's see what some of these other users have to say about his ask. So one of these users has to say that my advice is to niche down on a particular industry and become the destination app for continuous learning for that domain. As an example, you can choose React developers or renewable energy professionals. Doing so will have the added advantage of allowing users to share their own videos, materials, learning journey with other members, as everyone is in the same industry. So I agree with him. I think that's part of the whole choosing a particular niche and honing down on it, because if you choose something that's too broad or too many people of different industries, then you're going to end up with a product that kind of just touches every industry, and then it might not be very valuable to anyone in the end. So that is a pretty good response. And can you do it without code? There's a lot of tools nowadays with the no-code movement. Check it out and see if you can build an MVP with these tools I'd say that there aren't that many great no-code tools out there, in my opinion, uh, that will allow you to do anything more complicated than some forms, some profile pictures and stuff like that. Shopping has been going down, but I would say, after you spend enough time with the like super simple mockup and you've gone to your users maybe like 20, 50, the more the better, right? And you validate that your idea works for them, then you can go ahead and build that MVP with someone technical or learn it yourself, and you feel confident that what you're doing and the amount of time you spend on that is worth it. And you also, the benefit of that is you also have your original users that you interviewed, like, hey, I built this thing, can you come try it out? And you get really quick feedback that way. So that would be really good. Okay, so the second question, no code iOS app question. This is from user, where did Spring go? And he says, I have no engineering background. Let's say I wanted to create an iOS app in the social networking space. It's huge. The app would have some unique non-boilerplate features. Would it be possible to do this using a no-code tool? And if so, which ones, or is the tech not there yet? So I think this is like a really popular question nowadays because I think everyone's trying to build the next, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, but not a lot of people actually want to put in the work to learn like the coding and stuff like that. So there are a lot of like startups that are now just appearing. They can do really basic things, go ahead and create forms, log in, have users, stuff like that. And the ones I've seen have not, you can't do things like having a full-fledged like database, storing pictures, videos, comments, likes, etc. And even if you can do those things, you really can't customize it to what you want to do. So you might just end up building something similar to what's already out there. So I highly recommend, if this user has time on their hand, to go ahead and look into languages like JavaScript and learn frameworks like React. Because those things are really powerful and it will allow you to build basically whatever you want to your customized need. And it's really not terribly difficult these days, especially just watching YouTube videos, just searching it up on Google, which is very helpful. And even say you just want to build out like the back end of something, and you don't really want to do the front end, and there are tools for that actually. And personally, I've used Wix. Now Wix will basically just drag and drop whatever, however you want the website or app or whatever to look. You can do a mobile app, you can do a website, and basically it takes care of a lot of things for you. You can add your own database, they provide a database as well, and you can add your own code to a lot of the backend things. So maybe you can just drag and drop a form in there. Now you can add your own code and you can do a lot more things with that. Now with your own database, you can start adding pictures, Instagram, or not Instagram, pictures, videos, posts, etc. However you want to customize it to what you're trying to do. So I highly recommend going through that way, especially if you're trying to build out like a really quick MVP. I've used that to create like this queuing application that I think it took about like a week to do. Now I have some prior experience with JavaScript and stuff like that, but it honestly takes away a lot of the knowledge that you need for the front end of things, especially when it comes to making it look nice, resizing, etc. So I highly recommend doing that. I would love to know more about what you guys think about any of these questions, what I answered. If you have more questions or you want to talk about something, leave your comments down below. Like the video, and I'll see you in the next one.